That is very true. Budget and economic survey are cardinal documents that have to be read by every aspirant. And personally, I would advise people to not go by the notes. You see, UPSC will never ask you question directly. But what UPSC will do is that pick up the topics that are there in the syllabus, ask you question about them, and you should be smart enough to relate these things, the content of the economic survey, with the topics of exam while you're reading the economic survey. And enough questions appear on various websites regarding the economic survey from mains and prelims perspective, so that can be a help to the candidate. We should review the previous year questions regarding how questions are being framed and keep on pondering about how economic survey can be used. For example, if a question on subsidies come, a couple of years ago, economic survey had a chapter on bounties for the rich. So why shouldn't you use those content? It is very obvious. Then the economic survey in 2015-16, I think, covered something about capital expenditure and how it contributes to the economy, the capital output multiplier. So that thing can be used anywhere and everywhere. And that same survey covered the JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile. So these things should be kept ready in mind. You should not think that, okay, I'll mug up the notes from the economic survey and then reproduce them whenever they're relevant. You should make linkages even before the exam. And you should be ready that, okay, if a question comes about this particular subject, then I have this content from the economic survey that has to be used. That is the way you will use it. You cannot rely on your latent memory to make linkages within the exam. Secondly, you have to read the newspaper and throughout the year. That is it. You have to make your own notes. Once you make your notes, you internalize things. And once you internalize things, it is much easier to reproduce rather than going through a flood of summary of some coaching in 3-4 days. It personally happens with me that the slower I learn, the longer I retain. So that is how I did it. That is how it happened with me.
Yeah, this remembers me the story of rabbit and tortoise. Ultimately, tortoise wins. Yeah, Abhishek very rightly pointed out, very aptly pointed out. Now, the last question in which, last area of general studies, paper 4 ethics, where students find it very difficult to, deal with that paper because one section deals with terminologies. So how to improve your writing skills, because some questions are so general that you couldn't understand what to write. And some people find it very difficult whenever they write. And there was a trend. Now there is an increasing number we have witnessing in ethics paper 4. But then few years, I think in 16, 17, nobody was able to clear 100 marks. So I think that is the reason, because students are not comfortable writing with the terminology. So how you dealt in detail with all those attitude, probity, integrity related questions, emotional intelligence and all those stuffs?
So my idea about the ethics paper is that people think it is about theory, but it is not. It is about practice. UPSC will never be able to ensure that you remain ethical throughout the 30-35 years of your service. But what it can reasonably ensure that you at least understand these things in the exam room, while you're in the exam room. There are various institutional mechanisms, laws, and other frameworks to ensure that you act ethically once you are in service. But you cannot be expected to act ethically if you don't even understand what the ethics are. Right. So what the UPSC is trying to ensure that you at least understand those ethics. And that is what the ethics paper is all about. Secondly, I would say, sir, that the answer to typical questions, the key to writing answer to typical questions lies in the syllabus itself. If UPSC has clearly mentioned that we expect you to know XYZ list of topics, then in every answer, you should try to bring in those XYZ list of topics. For example, ethics in personal relationships, public relationships, work environment, and attitude, emotional intelligence. All these things, environmental ethics, there is a topic. So all these things have to be brought into the answer. That is what will make your answer diversified. Right? If a question comes about Gandhiji's famous quote that there is enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. Right away, the answer comes to mind is about environment, but it is not just about environment. You have to diversify your answer. So that is how I would approach any question about ethics. I would make it about personal relationships, about your role in public life. So that is how you diversify the answer. First and second, I would say that, like I said, it is not about theory, it is about practice. So I would not devote more than 20% of my answer to theoretical aspects of ethics. I would not write too many thinkers. I would write practical life examples of myself about how I learned those ethical principles, what they mean to me, and how I implemented them in my life, and how I see them being implemented around or not implemented around, for that matter. I would devote my answer on those things rather than this book said that thinker said that, and this is how that happens.